Welcome to the 9 Elements Podcast, brought to you by Restore Hyper Wellness. I'm your host, Eric Hinman. Each week, I sit down with trailblazers in the fitness, nutrition, and wellness communities, exploring how they optimize their daily lives for ultimate performance to do more of what they love. I am a 5-time Ironman athlete, brand builder, and someone who is obsessed with health and wellness, structuring much of my day around fitness and recovery protocols. On today's episode, I chat with my good friend, Ken Rideout. At the age of 50, Ken works in finance, trains as an endurance athlete, and is the father of 4 children, plus the host of the Fight podcast. And all he seems to do is set PRs for himself. Not only is he aging with intention, he's rewriting the rules of athleticism and age, and juggling his passion with the demands of life, work, and family. Plus, he's super fast. Good morning, Ken. How you doing today?
Hey, Eric, how you doing?
Let's start there. So, how old are you? 51?
51. I just turned 51 in May, and actually you reminded one sec. I'm just going to take my NMN.
Sounds good. I love it. So, for people that aren't familiar with NMN, walk us through, what it is and what it does.
Basically, NMN is rapidly absorbed and converted into NAD+, and in numerous studies, supplementation with NMN has increased NAD+ biosynthesis, suppressed age-related adipose tissue inflammation, enhanced insulin secretion and insulin action, improved mitochondrial function, improved neural function in the brain, and more. And the way I got turned on to it is I did some work with David Sinclair, the Harvard Medical School geneticist, and in the early studies, at least in mice, and before someone comes over the top and reminding me that we're not mice, we're humans, all these scientific studies tend to start in small lab animals and move their way up into bigger animals and then eventually human studies. But one of the things that got my attention with NMN was the cardiovascular improvement. It was shown in aged mice. So they would take mice that were of elderly, whatever their lifespan is, I think it's 2 years. So let's say they take a mouse that's like 20 months old and compare it to, let's say, a mouse in his prime of like 9 to 12 months. I might be getting the months wrong, but you get the idea. And they did a comparison where they put the mice on little treadmills, and the aged mouse consistently outperformed the younger mouse. Even when that aged mouse, it was in his prime, even in an elderly state when treated with NMN, was outperforming itself as when it was in its physical prime. So that was the some of the early studies. They just got my attention, and David was taking it. Obviously, that this isn't everything I based my supplementation decisions on, but I take advice seriously from David Sinclair and Andrew Huberman in particular, and they both suggest the same thing, that early studies suggest that NMN improves numerous functions, cellular function, especially as we start to age, like over 40. And I noticed an improvement in my cardiovascular performance when I started taking NMN from 1 year to the next. At the Malibu Half Marathon, for instance, I went from a 117 down to a 114, and this was probably in around 2018, I believe. So from there, in 4 years, from the time 47 to 51, I've now gotten all the way down to a 110 half marathon. So literally, I've taken 7 minutes off my half marathon in the last, call it, 4 years.
That's incredible. I'm 42. I feel my fittest I've ever been right now. You're 51, and so you're running your fastest times ever at 51, correct?
By far, I haven't run a PR yet this year, but last year I ran almost a 2-minute PR in the half marathon in November at the Nashville Half Marathon on a really tough course, and you know very well that the course has a lot to do with performance, especially in a half marathon. I mean, the Nashville Half Marathon, by comparison, has roughly the same amount of climbing or elevation gain as the New York or Boston Marathon, over 26 miles. This is over 13 miles. So to be able to run a 5:22 pace there for 13 miles was not only was that fast for me, but it was shockingly fast. Like, as I was going through halfway, I was like, holy shit, this watch can't be working. There's no way I'm running this fast. And I was running with a 27-year-old professional local runner, like a legit pro. We ran 2:22 3 or 4 weeks before at the Columbus, Ohio Marathon. And, man, I probably had no business running with him. But, you know, part of this performance as I've aged is I genuinely don't feel old. I know when I say 51, I feel it sounds crazy to me, but I feel the same as I always have. I don't feel old. I mean, sometimes I'm sore and, you know, anytime something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, I must be getting old. But truthfully, I don't feel older physically or emotionally. If anything, I'm waiting to emotionally mature a little bit, but it hasn't happened yet. So
always a kid at heart.
Yeah. So I did get a PR last year. I'm hoping that in 4+ weeks I'll have a massive improvement in the marathon. I'm running Berlin on September 25th, and I'm as fit as I've ever been. I did a track workout this morning. I was doing mile repeats under 5 minutes, easy, like effortlessly, just strong. But you know, you hope to have that feeling on race day. Like that Nashville half marathon was, you know, one of those days where I'm like, oh my God, everything's working. Yeah.
It's the mental game, you know, at that stage is so important. Can you get into flow state, you know? So 1:10 half marathon. What's your fastest full marathon? 2:28. 2:28. That is so goddamn fast. What's your fastest Ironman time?
That's a good question. Ironman, it's 9:36 in Wisconsin and 9:39 in Kona. And for those, my feeling on Ironman, and the reason I feel like I never reach my full potential there is because there's a lot of the Ironman that involves intellect and real analysis and like really understanding like what's going on. And to give you an example of how little I do of that stuff, like I don't look at heart rate. People ask me all the time, what's your heart rate at this effort? What's this? I said, I don't do anything with regards to heart rate. I don't even have a guess. I don't want to know. I don't care. Calories, I don't count calories. I don't look, it's just too much work. I mean, like I tell people, your brain only has so much computing power. I have 4 kids, 6 jobs. I'm trying to run. I've got a podcast with Teddy Atlas called The Fight with Teddy Atlas. Like by the time I'm done with all that and get my run in, and then I've got to look and go back and like look at the heart rate and look at the it's too much. And so when I was doing Ironman, you know, I had a power meter, I had everything, but I never looked at it. I was just like, I'm just going to go on feel. And in Ironman, there's too much room for error. If you go on feel on the bike and you're feeling good, you know, 5 hours later, as you're getting off the bike, that could look a lot different. And like I say, I only got it right a couple of times. And even when I did 9:36 in Wisconsin, I was 6th or 7th overall. And the truth is, I didn't swim more than 3 times leading up to that race. And I swam a 1:10. I can normally swim an hour flat. And I I missed the win by 10 minutes. And I'm telling you, if I had known that I would have had the potential to be that close, I would have swam every single day for just the thought of being in the mix to try to win an Ironman event would have been awesome.
I love how competitive you are.
And then at the half Ironman, I came in 7th, 6th or 7th as well at the Hawaii, the Honu half Ironman. And I mean, when I say I suffered on the run, dude, I was on one of those death marches on the golf course. The grass is wet. The humidity is incredibly high. It's like you're running on wet sponges that are like, you could just see the heat coming off the grass. And I was just like, please God, don't let me die on the golf course. That's how like just terrible I felt. But anyway, those were my best Ironman times. 9:36 and 4:20, low 4:20s, called 4:24.
Yeah, that's fast. Did you compete? My last year in Kona was 2014. Were you still doing Ironman then, or had you switched over to marathons?
No, the last time I did the Ironman in Hawaii, I believe, was 2016.
Oh, okay.
And I was awful, but I had literally had pneumonia, like full-fledged pneumonia, 3 weeks before the race. I got over it, had like 3 weeks to get ready, but man, that I was in bed for 1 week, not even out of bed, just laying in bed for 7 days. Sucked. But going into that, before I got pneumonia, I was fit.
Super
I
fit.
was like, okay, I could be close to 9 hours, but it is what it is.
Yeah, it's so interesting how some sports are more about perceived effort and some you really need the heart rate. So I kind of wonder what that, that time domain of exercise is. Marathon for you in the 220s, is it that 3-hour mark, 4-hour mark? Because I used a lot of that data within Ironman. I monitored my watts. I knew exactly, what I could maintain for the 112 miles and then, approximately what heart rate I should be at for the entire run. And I did watch it. But now being more of a CrossFit athlete, more anaerobic, like everything is based on perceived effort. I'm not, stopping my clean and jerks and looking at my heart rate. I'm not stopping my burpees and looking at my heart rate. And, it's just like, got to go as hard as you can in the time domain. So, and marathon, when you get to your level, you're probably doing a lot more speed training than someone who's, training for their first, second, third marathon, where it's a lot of just aerobic heart rate training. How much of your work is, longer runs versus interval training with the marathon training?
Yeah, that's a good question. For the people who are into endurance, they're going to enjoy this. For the people who aren't, they're going to be like, these guys are dorks. But so typically I have one long run per week. That will be anywhere from like at this time of year, basically 10 to 12 weeks out from the marathon, I'll have one long run that will usually be 20 to 24 miles once a week. And sometimes that run will be just for mileage, just like steady, in which case he'll be like, my coach is Mario Fraioli, who hosts the Morning Shakeout podcast. And he'll be like, all right, just, do your thing. And that typically means like, I'll just ease into it. If I'm feeling good, I'll progress down to sub 6 minute miles towards the end and be hanging on. But if we're doing a structured long run, and I think this is like the meat and potatoes of marathon training. So like a typical, I'll give you a couple examples of what those long runs workouts look like. So let's say it's a 20-mile run. It'll be 10 miles at, let's say, 6:30 average pace, which my goal marathon pace is like 5:35. So I'm running like 6:30, comfortably uncomfortable, but not working, not suffering. And then you get to the work, and then it'll be 9 miles, and it will go like this, 3 times 3 miles. So the 3 miles go 5:45, 5:35, 5:25, 5:40, 5:35, 25, 3 times through. So on that last 5:35, 5:25, you're on death's door. I mean, I'm hanging on, like literally finish the last interval, hit stop, collapse in the grass under like a tree or something, because it's usually in the summer and trying to get out of the sun. But when I can hit those times, like I'm ready. And then once or twice a week, typically once, but sometimes twice a week on the track. So this morning I had 1 mile. Today was a very moderate to easy track day, but it was 1 mile at 4:55. Then 9 by 400 in sets of 3. So 3 at 74, 3 at 72, 3 at 70 seconds for 400s with a minute recovery in between. 12
You're
total
doing a lot of
miles,
intensity.
Down that last dude on that last 400, I was telling my wife, I was like, could I possibly have a heart attack out here? That would be so embarrassing. But I was hurting bad.
Yeah. I mean, to get the times that you're running, you have to do that kind of intensity. To run a sub 3, I think you can do that with just lots of aerobic training. You don't need really
I ran a 2:33 marathon without ever having a coach and without ever having been on a track, not even once. I just ran 10 miles a day, and 1 day a week I'd run. On the weekend, I'd do a 20 to 24 miler, and I'd run basically as fast as I could. That was my routine for a year. And I got down to 2:33, and then I couldn't get past there. I ran 2:34, 2:35, and then I hired Mario to coach me, and we went 2:28 first time out. Yeah.
Incredible. So the way it's been explained to me, and this is also true for Ironman training, is, for an endurance event like this, the person that wins is able to hold, they have a pretty high threshold, but they're also able to hold a high percentage of that threshold. So in my Ironman training, I had various blocks. I had like my aerobic training block, which was, to build the ability to maintain a high percentage of my threshold for a long period of time. So call it 80%. And then I had a period of time where it was short, hard intervals, mainly on the bike. I didn't do a lot of track work when I was competing in Ironman. So, it was anywhere from 2 to 20 minute, really hard pulls indoors on my bike, and then swimming was always high intensity, shorter sets, high intensity, and that was to increase threshold. And then you have a period of time right before the race where you're doing a lot of race pace efforts, and that's to increase the percentage that you can hold of your threshold. So call it from 80% of your threshold to 85% of your threshold for 9-10 hours. And it sounds like, kind of similar to what you're doing or how you trained in the past. You built a lot of durability, obviously, through Ironman. And then to squeak out those, 3 minutes once you get to that 2:33 pace, that's where you have to ramp up the intensity, because you can already hold a high percentage of your threshold. Your threshold's pretty high, and it's just increasing your threshold a little bit more to get those extra 2 or 3 minutes.
Yeah, man, you understand it. But to your point, I'd say that the training at this point is, my friend Teddy Atlas always says this about boxing, that it's 75% mental. But I would argue that marathoning is the same thing. There's the element, you've got to stay healthy. So let's take injury prevention out of it for a minute, just assuming that you're healthy. The rest of it's mental. Can you get yourself out the door and consistently do the work? Because the most important element of training is consistency. Every workout doesn't have to be good. Matter of fact, none of them have to be good. The only thing that has to be good is race day. So as long as you're consistently getting the mileage in, getting intensity, people get hung up on the little tiny details, and it's like all noise. Ultimately, you need a big engine. You need to get there on race day, and how long can you suffer, and how hard and how long can you hold on when you want to quit? Because no matter what, no matter who you are, those last few miles, even when you're on one, you don't want to do it. I mean, when I ran 110 at Nashville, even the last mile, I was like, hyperventilating, like, come on, man, get to the finish line. As soon as I cross the finish line, I recover quickly. But that feeling of like self-preservation is there in everyone, in every sport. And in boxing, a lot of times people will call it, and again, my friend Teddy would talk about this all the time, being a game quitter. You see it all the time. You see two guys in the ring, especially in sparring, they're working, and they almost have a silent agreement where they're going to take it easy for a minute. They're both exhausted, and they're not really throwing hard. And it's almost like they both, okay, you're not throwing hard, I won't throw that hard, we'll just go. But the guy who's like the champion, that guy's on the gas all the time, and no one wants to train with him because he's going full speed. But that's the difference in like winning and losing, being a champion and being a contender. And it's the same thing in running. Is like, can you get to the track? And yes, it sucks. It sucks for me. It sucks. I tell people, hey, it never gets easier. You're just going faster. It's still the same effort mentally that the guy who's running 8-minute miles for the guy who's running 5 minutes. We all still have to get there and get uncomfortable. But if you want to be comfortable, cool. You'll never be great at anything, because tell me someone who's great at something that just coincidentally showed up and was great. Even the best athletes, LeBron James, like, he's notorious for his work ethic and the hustle he does off the court. Think about any great athlete they're hustling all the time.
Yeah, it's having a narrow focus and cutting out the noise, like running. That's what you do all the time. I would guess that, very rarely do you play tennis or, do other things. Like, running is your narrow focus. My coach always told me that train like a racehorse and think like a bumblebee. So a racehorse just does what its master tells them to do. And that's what I did with Ironman training. Is like, I had a program. It was in Training Peaks. I wanted to turn all of those reds into greens. I wanted to execute exactly as it was laid out, and then think like a bumblebee. A bumblebee isn't supposed to fly, but because it thinks it can, it does. So, positive mindset and just execute day in and day out. And I used to get intimidated, and I'm sure you did in the beginning, seeing all these other super fit people towing the line. And, then I would finish up front and I'm like, damn, but you realize that a lot of people just, maybe not so much, they may have a strong work ethic. They just let other things get in the way. They're not as narrowly focused on one thing to become super successful at it. Do you run every day?
Every single day for like the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, I missed 4 days when I had a shoulder surgery. I was supposed to be out for 4 weeks. Fifth day, I put a belt around my neck, held on to the belt, and started running. Probably wasn't the best, but just that's what I do. I mean, I've gone years with running every single day. This year, I'm averaging almost 12 miles a day average, but I've been ramping up the mileage this year. But to your point about being intimidated at the start line, like, everyone is scared. That's normal. Everyone is scared, even if it's at the local turkey trot 5K. Like, I'm scared, like, is some like housewife gonna beat me, or is someone gonna beat, like, once you get to a certain level of expectation. And I tell my children this all the time: everyone is scared. The difference is, how do you process it? Do you let it turn into anger and motivation, or do you let it intimidate you into the point where you can't perform? And to your point, when you line up at a Ironman or for a big major marathon, everyone looks fit and it can be intimidating. But literally in my mind, I'm prepared for a fight. So when I'm there, I'm looking at them and instead of that narrative of, oh my God, look how fast that guy looks, because I've seen that happen so many times where I get there and I'm like, oh my God, look at this guy, he looks like a professional runner. And then, a mile in, I can't even see him behind me. So I stopped letting that affect me. But I also get to the start line and I'm like, look at all these nerds. I'm going to kill them. These guys don't know what it's like to really suffer. And although some people might be like, that's crazy, I'm like, I don't care what it is to anyone else. That's my process. So to my process, I've got to think they suck, I'm the best. And after the race, we can all be best friends. And I want to spread love and be respectful. But before and during the race, I want to choke you unconscious. I want to stomp you when you fall down. I don't want to be friends. I want to win. Yeah. I'm not really going to stomp someone when they've gone down. I've actually stopped to help people multiple times in a race, but that's the mentality that I have, is I want your neck. I don't want to even talk to you right now. I'll talk to you after the race. And my wife said to me the other day, you could be a real dick at the beginning of these races. I'm like, I'm not trying to be. I'm in my own place. I don't want distractions, and it's not for any reason other than this is the only way I know how to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the mindset you need to get into to suffer like you have to win races at that level. So you have a coach. Obviously, the process. You've been doing this a long time. And, in my Ironman years, I knew the process. I could do it myself. But it's nice having the accountability. And again, going back to that racehorse mentality of just having someone else put it in. And for me, it was more I was going to tremendously overtrain if I didn't have those workouts in there. And I think you may be the same, that maybe you would even overtrain if you didn't have the workouts in there. So it's always nice having someone else, kind of watching over you. In the beginning, it was great having the accountability. I had this person that I was paying to give me workouts. So I felt obligated to hit them, and obligated to myself that if I was paying for that service that I needed to follow through. And that helps so good to just have those blinders on of here's my workout plan for the day. This is what I'm doing. I know a lot of people just go fly by the seat of their pants, but even now, I write out my strength training before I go to the gym. Once I'm there, I want to go. I want to execute. I don't want to have to overthink anything. You do a lot of strength training too. What's your process for strength training? Do you do it before or after you're running? How many days a week are you strength training? And, what types of movements are you focusing on?
Very basic movements, and I always do the strength training in the evening because I'm sure that this is the same in CrossFit. They'll tell you to do the exercise that's the priority when you're feeling 100%. The strongest. Don't go do a run when you're already depleted if running is the goal. Yep. So I do my strength work in the evening. One of the nice things about living in Nashville now versus LA is we have a ton of space. So I have candidly, the nicest home gym I've ever seen. I've got all Rogue Fitness, squat rack, free weights, cable crossover. I've got a wood weight treadmill, every workout device known to man, kettlebells. And unfortunately, I don't use it as much. I'm not getting as much out of it as I could, but I've got multiple pull-up bar grips, so a curl bar straight, and I do a ton of pull-ups. Bench pressing, very basic movements, pull-ups, bench pressing, squats, depending on where I am in a running training camp, lunges, I'll do some cable crossovers, and then the basic, gym rat workouts, tricep push downs, tricep extensions on the bench, a little bit of everything. I usually do 3 or 4 movements, 3 sets through. So my typical go-to workout will be, 20 to 30 set of 20 to 30 pull-ups, bench press, 135 to 185, working my way up to that kind of level. I weigh 170-ish, sometimes less, sometimes more, right in that range though. And then I'll do, I have an angled sit-up board, just a simple, it might have been $50, and I'll put the end up on a wooden plyometric box, so it's super steep, and I'll do full range sit-ups set of 50, then I'll do some cable crossovers, and I'll go through that cycle 3 or 4 times. Pull-ups, bench press, sit-ups, cables, and then maybe at the end I'll do some for aesthetics, some curls or something just to satisfy my ego. And then and that's typically it, and sometimes I'll do some kettlebell work and some more like high intensity stuff. But typically it's like by that time of the day, I'm so exhausted just laying on the bench press and trying to push up heavy weight is all the like cardiovascular effort I have in me. Yep. And then I also have a cold plunge and a sauna in the back that I just recently installed. Matter of fact, I just got the sauna hooked up. So I've been doing some hot cold therapy.
Awesome.
Yeah. And that's it. But I also have every recovery device known to man. I've got the Hyperice, percussion gun, Normatex, Power Dot, the stim device. Anything you can think of, I have it. I never, ever use them. I'm the worst. Same thing with stretching. People are like, what's your stretching routine? What's this? I'm like, I'm the worst person to ask. No stretching. Don't use any of the recovery devices I have. And that just works for me. People are like, oh, you don't stretch and I don't think blah, blah, blah. They start weighing in with their opinion. I'm like, dude, I'm not looking for your opinion, and I'm not suggesting what works for me will work for you. Yeah. I'm 51 years old, 170 pounds, 4 kids, multiple jobs. Like, if you are the carbon copy of me, then maybe what shoes I wear and what my diet is and what my stretching routine, maybe it apply to you. But if you're a 35-year-old guy who weighs 190 with no kids, like, everyone is different. You can't compare yourself. That's one of the things that, like, is a little bit frustrating when people are like, what do you do for this? What do you do for that? I'm like, I can tell you what I do, but I'm not you. I've been running 10 miles a day on average for like 5 years. So you can't really take what I say other than other than out of curiosity, which is fine. But it's when I tell someone that and then they start telling me what I'm doing is wrong. I'm like, the only thing I care about is race results. If you have a better system that you're getting better race results out of a 51-year-old guy, cool, I'll listen to you. But I know that there's no one else like that in the world.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, time, you only have so much time in the day and you have various priorities. So, where you get the most bang for your buck is up to you. I don't stretch either and have never stretched. I consider my stretching to be the Olympic lifting I do in CrossFit, where I gain tremendous mobility by doing snatch and clean and jerk and front squats and pause drills. So, again, like that's where I'm getting the most bang for my buck is just combining stretching with the Olympic lifting. So going back to Andrew Huberman, I was listening to his podcast with Andy Gilpin, I believe is his name, on the plane yesterday. And he was talking about strength training and endurance. And I know a lot of people are scared in the endurance world to do strength training. And, he basically said all these studies say like strength is only going to help endurance with one caveat, weight. Obviously in a marathon, I've heard that this is with no other things considered, but every pound you lose, you can run 2 seconds per mile faster. So hence why a lot of the guys winning marathons, they're 135, they have very little muscle, but they do some strength training, but similar to what you're doing, I don't think you're going into the gym like what I do and doing like, 1 rep maxes and, high percentage. You're doing 135 for, sets of 10, sets of 20. So you're doing lighter weight for reps as opposed to heavy weights to build muscle mass. So yeah, strength matters in endurance. If you can be strong and light, that is the ultimate combo. And at some point, you have to factor in weight, specifically when it comes to running because, of that equation of every pound, 2 seconds per mile. So if you lose 10 pounds and maintain that same strength, you're running 20 seconds per mile faster, which is a monumental amount of time in a marathon. So hot and cold, did you just start doing hot and cold recently?
I just got the sauna hooked up, so I'm just adding in the hot, but I've been doing the cold plunge. But to me, getting in the cold plunge for me is harder than doing the hardest workout. It's so mentally draining for me. Oh my God, I hate it. I hate it with a passion. I mean, the same way someone would feel if they were going to get a root canal. That's how I view the cold plunge. It's so hard for me to get in there. I was telling.
Do you have time to do it right after your? Do you have time to do it right after your run?
I mean, listen, the simple answer is no, but I make time to do the things that are important for me. And I believe that you have to take care of your mental and physical health like your life depends on it because it does.
Yeah.
And I want my life to be as fruitful as possible, at least with regards to the things that I can control.
Yep.
And if you don't take care of yourself, you're doing everyone in your life a disservice. And when I tell people that you should prioritize your own health and wellness over everything, even your children and your marriage, because if you're not healthy, how can you possibly be of any use to anyone else? Imagine if you had some debilitating disease or some debilitating illness that could have been avoided by staying healthy, and now you're a burden to the whole family.
Yeah.
I'm not saying abandon your other responsibilities, but I'm saying don't abandon your own health and wellness. That's insane.
Can't agree more.
You should take pride in who you are, because you could take someone who's super fit and let them walk into a room with jeans and a t-shirt, and then you take someone who's a dumpy mess and put them in labels and put a fancy like Louis Vuitton backpack on them and walk into the room. Like, there's one type of person that's going to gravitate towards frumpy with all the labels, and that's someone who's only interested in earning money, because when you marry for money, you earn every penny.
So true. Yeah. And, a lot of these things are so your cup is full. Like hot and cold for me, sure, it definitely helps in recovery, but it also helps me with stress resilience. It helps me with grit. It helps me, never get sick. And like all of these things are benefits to the people around me. I'm able to give back more. I'm able to exude positive energy. I exercised before this podcast. I know that my mind functions best after I exercise, so we can have a really engaging conversation. So yeah, I always tell people that, the aesthetic is a byproduct. I'm doing it for the feeling day in and day out of being the best version of myself. And, I know what things make me feel the best. So the reason I was saying the cold right after the run is, if you do it with a high core body temperature, oftentimes mentally, it's a hell of a lot easier to get in the cold. And, again, going back to the Andrew Huberman podcasts, that it's been shown that the cold can negate inflammation, which is good for training. But, if you want to be a bodybuilder and, you just did a hypertrophy workout, then maybe doing the cold immediately after that workout is not the best idea if your sole objective is to gain muscle mass. But for us, like our sole objective is optimization and performance. So, in that being said, like I think doing the cold immediately after exercise, whenever you can do it, is going to benefit optimization and performance. So I always tell people to do it, when you can fit it in, and, setting your temperature to something where you're going to get benefit, but it's not going to deter you. So, like you, I have a cold plunge, and we leave ours at like 45 to 48 degrees, because I know that's a temperature that I'll get in at any time of day. And I know it's a temperature that my girlfriend Sarah, our friends coming over, they'll get in. I can set it to 37. I could set it to 33 if I want to, but that's probably going to limit the amount of times I do it, and it's going to limit the amount of times that our friends coming over are going to do it. So, setting it to a temperature where it becomes a regular routine is super important. What sauna did you go with?
I bought one from Costco called Almost Heaven, maybe. It's like a barrel sauna.
Barrel sauna.
Basically, yeah.
It's a great option.
Came in like 2 huge pallets, and I literally lugged the whole thing into my backyard, board by board, put the whole thing together myself, and just had an electrician come over. The funny thing is, you buy this thing, it's like $5,000. I'm like, all right, I put it together. I'm going to plug it in. Go to plug it in. They're like, no, you need an electrician. I'm like, okay, electrician. Yeah. Guy comes over. He's like, oh, no, this got to go right into the electricity box, which is on the other side of your house. Blah, long story short, $3,000 to get the thing wired up, and the sauna costs $5,000. I'm like, damn it. Yeah. What a kick in the ass, but it's all rigged up now. So, but my kids and everyone, my whole family's excited to get in it. But my kids love the cold plunge. They get right in there. They're awesome. So proud of themselves. Yeah, that's crazy. That's the one thing that has been a huge benefit of having the gym and all these exercise devices and optimization tools around, is that the kids see this and they like, especially the boys really, as you would imagine, look up to me, and they're like, Dad, I want to get in the cold plunge. I want to go in the gym and work out with you. So that's been a huge positive byproduct of all this kind of health and fitness and running stuff.
Oxygen is the third most abundant element in the universe, and throughout the day, we take an average of 22,000 breaths. It's our daily fuel, and when concentrated, oxygen may help the body to accelerate healing, improve cognitive function, and prevent or lessen the effects of aging and injury. During Ken's episode, we've placed heavy emphasis on marathon training, and a huge part of running is optimizing your oxygen intake to keep pushing. At Restore, the modality of choice for oxygen is mild hyperbaric oxygen therapy. It's a cozy chamber to relax and focus on breathing, and it may also help boost energy, regain your cognitive edge, and optimize sleep. Breathe in the benefits. 9 Elements listeners can receive 20% off your first Restore service using the code ELEMENTS20 when making your first appointment. That code again is ELEMENTS20 to save 20% when booking your first service with Restore. Walk me through your diet. I think you're probably similar to me in that you don't count calories. Do you have a certain way that you eat? Do you time any of your meals pre or post workouts? And then walk me through nutrition as well in a marathon.
Yeah, so I've got a very standard diet during the week. I don't eat breakfast. I get up, I have maybe 2 cups of coffee, 1 or 2 bottles of 16-ounce bottle of water. 1 or 2 of those. I'll take my NMN in the morning. Then I go for my run. As soon as I come back, I'll take 2 scoops of Momentous Recovery Powder just in a regular water bottle. I take a scoop of glutamine and creatine and a scoop of athletic greens. Just shake it all up with water, drink that. And then an hour or 2 later, around noontime, typically in that context, I'll have I mix up a huge salad at the beginning of the week with spinach, romaine and Bibb lettuce, peppers, corn, onions, whatever vegetables are around, beets, and I put that in a big Ziploc, and I have a salad with some, I have a bag of mixed nuts that I'll put on top of it, like walnuts and some dried cranberries. I use apple cider vinegar and a little bit of unhealthy salad dressing, but just a little bit to get all the stuff down. Makes it a little bit more enjoyable. I'm much more focused on making sure I get all the good stuff in versus avoiding the bad stuff. I don't eat a lot of bad food during the day. Then if I'm hungry before I go in the gym, I'll have some nuts or something very healthy, a banana. And then for dinner, I usually just eat a balanced dinner. Last night we had, my wife made, the kids have a little garden in the back and they grew some eggplants. We had eggplant parmesan, a little bit of pasta and roasted broccoli. And I eat that, and then I had 25 popsicles after dinner and went to bed.
I love it.
I try to choose somewhat healthy treats at night if I can, but I have been known to eat a half a cake or a half a pie after dinner.
Dude, I'm the same as you. I build my calories throughout the day, and I'm super structured throughout the day, but much less structured at night. I found that I have way more energy and also way more mental clarity on low calories. So same as you, I'm fasted when I go into that morning workout. I do athletic greens as well, NMN under my tongue. I do Beat Elite, Live Human. Beat has been shown, incredible for endurance. I do colostrum and creatine in water before the gym. And then same as you, I do about 200 milligrams of caffeine before that first workout. And then after the first workout, that's my first meal, and it's generally either eggs and turkey sausage or a big smoothie. And then second workout of the day is usually mountain biking, trail running, hiking, 60 to 90 minutes of aerobic activity. And I may bring a bar with me then or do a banana, honey, peanut butter, something like that. And then dinner is where I really have all of my calories. I'm doing a couple burgers or a couple chicken thighs or a steak, potatoes and rice. And then same as you, I'm not so concerned about, dessert and sugar. So I might have a dessert at night. I might have sticky rice and mango with lots of coconut sugar. So it's building calories. Yeah, it's so good. And I'm being less mindful as the day goes on about what I'm eating. I'm super strict with all of the exercise I'm doing. And then after all the exercise, all my meetings, the day is done. That's when, I don't mind if I fall off the wagon as much.
Yeah. That pretty much sums it up. And then right before I eat lunch, I'll usually take a bunch of supplements. I'll take, typical stuff, zinc, vitamin D, vitamin C, a daily multi. I always take a super EPA fish oil. Andrew Huberman says that that's one of the most important supplements you could take for neuroplasticity and neuro brain health. some Carnitil. Middle of the day, I'll take tyrosine, all kind of brain supplements that Andrew recommends. Then at night, right before bed, I'll take some magnesium. And typically that's it.
Yeah,
but
structure
a lot of supplements.
Structure is so important. I mean, I feel like that's the biggest key with nutrition. It's not, obviously it's eating whole foods. I think everyone knows what they should have and what they shouldn't have. But I think oftentimes it's decision-making fatigue. People allow decisions to creep in with food. And the more you can put it on autopilot, but also enjoy it. Like, I love what I eat every day. And it sounds like you love what you eat every day. It's not like we're just nibbling on spinach. That's the key to it, is eating, just like training, putting these things on autopilot so you don't have to make decisions around it, because we all face decision-making fatigue, and we're going to make the wrong decisions if we have to make too many decisions around things where we shouldn't make decisions,
That's exactly right. When I'm home and on a routine and a schedule, I make improvements. When I'm traveling a lot and sleeping in hotels, my recovery scores on my Whoop are deplorable.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a hard time getting really quality sleep anyway. As I've gotten older, for whatever reason, man, I cannot sleep past 6 or 6:30, even when I want to sleep late. I just, once my body's on such a routine now, it won't sleep in, which is fine. But again, it all comes back to, like I said earlier, consistency. If you can just consistently show up, consistently eat well, then once in a while, when you do go off the rails with your diet and eat a whole pizza, or I don't know, eat 2 In-N-Out burgers or something. Those are some of the things I like to cheat with. It's like after a race, I could easily eat like 3 gigantic fast food burgers, like In-N-Out burger or Sonic or some crap that you would never think to eat. But after a race or after a huge workout, I'm like, I don't care. Give me those damn burgers.
Yeah,
exactly.
Can't agree more.
But I also can't eat. I can't eat after a race. I mean, honestly, sometimes I can't eat for like 5 to 8 hours. Nothing. My stomach won't tolerate anything. No desire. I can drink fluids, but when I do start to get an appetite, then I'm like, oh my God, give me a pizza, give me some burgers. I just worst thing you should do is gorge on junk food, but that's what I'm craving.
No, I mean, your body needs carbs after something like that. I mean, after Ironman Lake Placid and Kona each year, I would do chocolate milk, cookies, a whole pizza later that night. I mean, your body's craving carbs. It needs to replenish that glycogen to recover faster. What about on race day? So walk me through a marathon. What are you taking in as far as carbs, sugar, food, caffeine, and electrolytes, hydration?
Yeah, man, good question. This is like really important stuff, but only only certain people would want to know this stuff. It's like for the kind of pointy ends of the arrow, like the people that are really optimizing understand how important this is. So on race day, I'll get up and have something really sensible, like oatmeal with peanut butter, some bananas, maybe a bagel with peanut butter. No, I'm so nervous. I have no appetite, but I try to force this stuff down. Then I'll have a little bit of coffee. I don't want to overload on caffeine on race day, because I'll want to hit caffeine around mile 16 to 18 and then every 15, 20 minutes. So typically what I'll do is I'll, try to get some calories in before the race. On the start line, I'll have a Morton's gel 5 minutes before the gun goes off. And then I'll probably have 5 to 6 Morton gels throughout. So I'll take one every, let's say, 4 miles for the first 16. So, I'll have 4 regular gels. I'll try to carry most of them, but nothing pisses me off more than seeing people carry too much stuff at an Ironman. I'm like, there's a freaking aid station every hour. As long as you're good what's in the aid station, why are you running with water? Why do you have a water hydration belt? I'm like, you can get water every 5-7 minutes. Yeah. So anyway, pet peeve. But I will run the shorts I wear from the brand that sponsors me. Say Sky has some little pockets in the back inside, and I can get 4 or 5 gels in there comfortably. So I'll hit the Morton's gel uncaffeinated every 4 miles. So at 16, I've taken 4. Then at 19, I'll hit a caffeinated, or sometimes at 16, depending on how I feel. So around somewhere past the 15-mile mark, I'll start doing caffeinated, where I have roughly an hour to go. So let's say get 18, 19, I'll hit one full caffeinated and then another one around 22. I think they have like 200 milligrams of caffeine, so it's a lot. And I notice a difference if I haven't overloaded on caffeine in the days leading up to the race, that you get that little boost, even if it's for like a mile. You're like, oh man, I feel like alive again. And anything you can do to get to the finish line from like mile 20, 21 to the finish line is just death march if you've gotten it wrong. If you got it right, you're like railing in people like they're standing still.
Yep. Yeah. What do you do for electrolytes? Do you have water with electrolytes in it? Are you doing Coke? What are you doing for hydration?
I'll take a drink from Momentous before the race starts called Fuel. And then maybe I'll have, the thing is in a marathon, it's hard, right? You don't have your choice. I'm like a few minutes away from being in the pro corral where I can have water, my own stuff on the course, which if you can get it is awesome. I almost got it in Berlin. They were like, nah, he's a couple minutes too slow to have his own water bottle. But basically what I do is hit water and Gatorade every other station. That's the other thing is I try to drink just simple Gatorade when I'm out doing a workout because I know that's typically what's going to be available on a course. So especially if it's hot, I'll go water, Gatorade, every single aid station, just grabbing one, even if you're just getting a little sip. Because then if you miss one here, there, because it's too crowded or something, it's no big deal. But if you make a plan to get one at every aid station, it's the same thing with diet and being consistent. If you're consistent and you're always doing the right thing, when you don't do the right thing one day, it doesn't like throw you for a complete loop. Same thing with missing a cup of water. You know, and if you start to really get thirsty, then you start to prioritize. But once you start to feel thirsty, you're pretty much screwed unless you're in the last like 3 or 4 miles.
Yeah, same as you. I would do like simple sugars. I did no water ever when I was racing. Like every single thing I consumed, was either had salt in it, it had caffeine in it, and I would train with whatever was going to be on the race course.
Definitely on an Ironman, I would do that too.
Yeah.
I haven't done an Ironman. I'm all about the electrolyte drinks, but in a marathon, I'm trying to get some water in and some.
Sure.
I don't want to get too bloated.
Sure. Yeah, Ironman for me was, a gel before the swim. I'd probably have 200 milligrams of caffeine in my system before the swim start. And then on the bike, every 30 minutes, I would pop a gel. And just like you, the first couple hours on the bike would be no caffeine. And then towards the end of the bike, I would start popping gels with 80 milligrams of caffeine in them. Again, every 30 minutes. So getting in maybe 200 calories, probably 40 grams of carbs every hour, a ton of sugar. And then I would just grab Perform at every aid station and have, depending on how hot the race was, either 1 or 2 bottles every hour, probably more like 1 bottle every hour. And then the run was every 45 minutes, I would do a gel with caffeine in it. And starting at mile 10 on the marathon course, I would do a cup of Coca-Cola at every aid station. And yeah, for those who haven't experienced the highs and lows of an endurance race, it's incredible what that caffeine does and the simple sugars going into your bloodstream like Coca-Cola every single mile, what it does for you. The high gets shorter and shorter, but you just basically look forward to that next aid station of getting that next Coca-Cola, getting that next quick high. And yeah, I've always said that, to go fast in an Ironman, to go fast in a marathon, you're kind of drugging yourself to get through it. At any one time, I probably had 600 to 800 milligrams of caffeine in my system. I can't even imagine how much sugar I had in my system. But, that's what you got to do to go fast in these races. Training days were very different. I would typically do a higher fat bar and, something healthier on training days up until about 2 months before the race. And then I would switch over to what I was going to do for race day nutrition. But yeah, it's crazy how important that nutrition component is to it. And, mindset and nutrition is what starts to separate the very best from the very good in those races.
Yeah, for sure. And nothing is better than a cold Coke, especially like a Mexican Coke that comes in the glass bottle that has cane sugar versus high fructose syrup. You can notice a big difference. I always ask my wife when she goes to the supermarket, get me those Mexican Cokes. For those listening who don't know, it's the Coke comes in a glass bottle, the old school looking bottle. If you look on the back and the writing's in Spanish, it has cane sugar. And they obviously sell them in the U.S., but I don't know that they package them here because they always have the writing in Spanish. But I love keeping those in the garage in in those cold bottles. Nothing is better to me than a cold Coke after a grueling workout.
Yeah, it's so cool how in tune with your body and mind you become doing specifically endurance. Now that I'm doing more strength training stuff, I'm definitely in tune. But those Ironman years, I was just so in tune with everything. It's a really, really cool feeling. And yeah, I always tell people like Ironman, marathon, any of that like long endurance, grueling stuff, I think it's an important chapter for people to write in life, just to, really understand themselves, really understand how they operate. Obviously, it's a lot of time alone where you get to think. I kind of feel like I've built my life the way it is now around these perfect days from that Ironman chapter. I just had so much time and space to think and reflect and, figure out how I wanted my life to be. So yeah, doing this stuff is so much more than just like running fast for an unfathomable distance and running, biking and swimming. It's like it teaches you so many valuable lessons about yourself. And, I think it helps you design your life the way you want it to with all the space that you're able to get.
Yeah, not only that, I think that running an endurance sport has given me so much, has given me so much value in my life. Like some of my best friends and business connections and relationships have stemmed from love of endurance sports, or now more so is like a level of respect from people that might be hobbyist runners, and they see what I'm doing at this age and they have admiration, and it leads to a relationship, and it's just given me so much. I can't express in words what a difference it's made in my life. And I would say this to anyone who's in any kind of relationship business, whether it's, I've been in sales and trading and finance and like different levels of banking for the last 20 years, all to do with relationships. But once I got into endurance sports and especially started to like get better and be recognized as someone who is good, like the what it's given me is crazy. And my advice to anyone listening to this is, no matter what it is you're into, if you're into golf or you're into darts or you're into billiards, if you're the best, you'll be the alpha of the group if you can identify who those people are that are also into that. It's like going into a weight room. The guy with the biggest muscles for the hour or two that he's in there is like the coolest guy in the room. When he gets out of there, you may look at him like, what a dweeb this guy is. Look at all these big, stupid muscles. But when he's in the weight room with other people that are into weightlifting, he's the coolest guy in the world. And it's the same thing with Ironman, running, any hobby. When you're amongst the best, other people will respect what it took to get to that point, and they'll have a level of admiration from you, good, bad, or indifferent. It just is what it is. And for me, it's been a huge difference maker in helping forge some relationships, or maybe get introductions to people that I might not have had the opportunity to meet had I not been into this and been so proficient at it.
Yeah, I love that you said that. Same for me. My network, and you have an incredible network of friends and, your Fab Five. And same for me, like all of my close friends and the network I've amassed over time have been from doing something I love and respect from others, seeing how hard I work and how hard you work. So it's amazing that, how people gravitate towards others that are working hard and whatever it may be. Again, it could be the best chess player in the world. It doesn't have to be athletics. And then like putting yourself in front of that tribe. In triathlon, I had a software company during that time period, and all of the business that we got, it came from triathletes. It came from the people I was interacting with, because we had this shared passion and this respect. And it's amazing how fast you can form bonds with people that have a shared passion. And for me now, sauna has become an incredible place to connect with people, because you're uncomfortable, you're vulnerable, you're in a captive environment. And I've now met some of my closest friends, traveling around to different cities and, hopping in a sauna with random people.
Yeah, but you're still wearing the thong when you sauna, right? Like you were back in the day. So that always breaks the ice. Like,
that does break
it's
the
Eric
ice.
in the thong.
That's right. I mean, you got to be known for something. Why not be known as the guy in the thong in the sauna?
Yo, I'll say this about you is like whenever I see you or see you working out on IG or see you in person, I'm always like, damn, that guy is in good shape. And to the people that are doing the things you're into, they know what it takes to have that kind of physique. Whether they're into that or not, they're like, damn, that's a guy who's committed. Like nothing is more frustrating to me than seeing someone who's smart or good at something, but then they look a friggin' mess. I'm like, dude, you only have one body, one life. Why would you walk around It's like they have on like a Gucci shirt and Gucci loafers, but their body is like looks like 6 pounds of chewed bubble gum. I'm like, dude, take care of yourself. You won't have to spend any money on clothes. You could just put on a t-shirt and show up, and people like, you only have one shot. You care enough to put on these nice clothes. Like, what's underneath the clothes is with you 24/7. Same thing with like teeth or anything else. It's like, you wear these suckers every day. Why would you spend $2,000 on a sport coat and not spend $1,000 to get your teeth fixed or something that's in your control? Yeah. Look, not everyone has the money to do all these things, but if you have the money to buy expensive clothes, you have the money to like fix what can be fixed and take care of yourself and take a lot of pride in the way you present yourself to the world. Because when I see people that are fit, and look, there's plenty of dopey guys that are fit, but when someone's fit and they come in and they're polished, I'm like, all right, this guy's like on top of it. He's like taking care of business. He's the kind of person I know I want to do business with, because I, for at least from everything I can see, he's on his game. He takes pride in how he presents himself or herself. And I don't know, I just have huge appreciation for that. And like you said earlier, the tribe or the friends that you surround yourself with is so indicative of who you are, because you're basically, and it's very cliche, but a sum of like, you know, your 5 closest friends. Like if you really think about that, if you're the coolest guy in your crew, you probably have a shitty crew, unless you're like Tom Brady or someone like that. Like, I don't know, if you're the smartest guy, probably need more friends. I don't know. You should feel a level of like, man, these guys are impressive when you're around your friends, and they should have something like Andrew Huberman as an example, or my buddy Rob Moore, who's Andrew's business partner, and Rob produces my podcast with Teddy. He's been such a good friend, but more than that, he's like a business ally. He's a PR guru, and also, like I said, Andrew's business manager. So anytime something comes up for me about a business decision or a relationship with a potential sponsor or a new financial mandate that's looking for help raising money, whether they're raising a Series A or a seed round, that's what I've been doing for the last few years. I'll run everything by Rob because, and look, I don't always take his opinion, but I respect his opinion, and I love an unbiased professional opinion who has no emotion or no skin in the game to be like, hey, let me explain the scenario to you. What would you do? Then and he'll always explain his rationale. But anyway, that's a long-winded way of saying if you should have friends that you genuinely respect and admire, and you because those people are basically an extension of you, and they're like part of the business of you. We're all a business, whether people want to believe that or not, and people go like, oh, fuck you, you're not a brand. But ultimately, we are all a brand. And if you want people to work with you, and I know people that are in this space like you and I, we want to have brands that want to work with us. And I mean, I burn through running shoes, a pair a month, clothes. So to have someone that's willing to send you that stuff and have you represent their brand is a huge vote of confidence. And when someone wants to do business with me, I was telling this to the guy at Roan, my buddy Nate Checketts, who's the CEO of Roan. They send me clothes, and I kind of do some ambassador stuff for them, I guess. I don't know what else to describe it as. But I said to him, listen, you want to do business with me? I'll help you bury a dead body. Like, we're friends. Like, you want to put a vote of confidence with me. You want to align your brand with me. I'll do anything for you. Someone's coming over to fight you. You tell me, I'll come and fight them with you. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you see some pro athletes, they have a brand sponsorship deal, and they're like, okay, you need one post a month on Instagram. That's exactly what you're going to get. Nothing more, nothing less. It frustrates the shit out of me that people don't really lean into those sponsorships and give back, because running a small business, especially a startup, is so incredibly difficult. When someone wants to give you their product or have you represent their product, I take it very seriously.
Yeah, I'm the same as you. I actually just had a conversation with a new brand I'm looking to work with called Wild Idea Buffalo out of South Dakota. It's a regenerative buffalo farm. And I mean, this is the conversation I have with every brand I work with. I've run businesses, and I know that if I'm spending marketing dollars, I want ROI. So, when I'm working with a brand, like, that is the first thing I'm thinking about is ROI. And sure, maybe a feed post, story post, they might contribute to that ROI, but introductions to other people, looping you in on events, introducing you to other founders of companies so that introductions to people if you're raising money. So like I want to provide ROI. So just like you, I don't think of it as a transaction. I think of it as a relationship. And I know that for the relationship to be successful, I have to provide ROI. So yeah, I think that's super important in anything you're doing is ROI and showing that you really care.
There's a lot of guys in our space that are like, I call them just handsome influencers. And either they fancy themselves VCs or they somehow consider themselves to be like investing gurus. And I'm always just kind of like, okay, I mean, I guess. I mean, I've worked in VC now for the last like 5 or 6 years, and I was in banking for 20 in New York, London, Hong Kong, and LA. And there's so much to know, and so much to know when making an investment and doing due diligence, like way even beyond. I was never an analytical type guy, as I described with my training philosophy. I was a relationship guy, so I would raise money for the fund or raise money for the private placements for the businesses. But when I see people making investments based on like without a lot of experience, it's always like, man, it's so easy to look good when the market is on fire, but when shit turns and starts to get ugly, like as it has for the last few months, then you start to see these people that are making investments based on not the most intelligent rationale. It's interesting, but yeah, to your point is like there's so much. It's not just representing the brand and putting out some sponsored posts. It's everything that exactly what you describe, helping them when they're raising funds, introducing the people, introducing them to strategic partners, thinking strategically on their behalf. Even if they don't take your advice, at least being able to offer some value outside of social media posts.
Yeah, can't agree more. Value. I mean, that's what it comes down to. And then, I mean, the other big lesson I've learned in life is people remember you most based on how you make them feel. So, I always think about that as like, be kind to people, be caring, connect people. I enjoy doing all of these things, but I also know that like that makes you memorable. If, you show up for them and you make some valuable connection, you give them some kind of advice. So, I mean, that's a lot of social media for me is like, I want to make people feel a certain way. I want to give them I want to inspire people. I want to give people knowledge I've learned over the years. So hopefully they can apply it to their life. And again, like be the best version of themselves.
Yeah, our friend Brian Maz is one of the best at that. He's always trying to help others. He's been a huge help to me in a lot of things and been a great friend. So but he's one of those guys that is like that influencer that really understands what's going on, has been able to apply his influence to help move the needle for some of these brands. I appreciate Brian, and he's a good person, and he's someone that if I were a brand, I would want to do business with. And he's very handsome.
He's very handsome. I agree. He is he's an incredible human. I met Maza back in 2016. Actually, this is a funny story. He was one of the early people on the 10,000 team with me, and we did a photo shoot together. And this one, he was still training at Tone House, so he was fit, but mainly just anaerobically fit and explosive. And we shot for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours. There were some light workouts with it. And then during the lunch break, I was still kind of in the endurance world. And I asked him if he wanted to go for an hour run, about 8 miles. And he looked at me like I was fucking crazy. He's like, 8 miles? I might run that in like 4 months. I don't run that in a day. And, now he's run 50-mile races. And he's become an endurance athlete. So it's been cool to watch his progression. But I'm on the Kane squad with him, invested in Kane. I think you probably met John. I believe he was in Austin. And then Slate Milk, I just started working with, who he works with as well. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I like those guys. One of the other things that I do is I have an inventory finance company called Upside, and we finance inventory runs for CPG brands. So we'll give like 30 to 120-day terms to a brand on an unsecured basis to help them create some inventory, basically give them access to non-dilutive working capital. And like I said, we don't take a secured position or a lien on the inventory, so it allows them flexibility and time to like lean into in addition to our facility, they can lean into an ABL facility or factoring arrangement. And anyway, we've talked to multiple brands, and we've talked to Slate, and through that I've met some incredible brands. And to your point about adding value, one of the things that I've done too is I have a relationship with CVS, the head of health and innovation there, and I've made some introductions to brands that they've gone on to carry in CVS. And, you know, if you went through a broker to get a relationship or an introduction to CVS and they carry a brand, you pay that broker 5% in perpetuity of all sales.
Wow.
I've made these introductions for no fee, mainly because I like building goodwill. I like having a relationship with CVS. I love helping the brand. It costs me nothing to do it, and it adds to my own personal value to be like, hey, that guy is someone who's like selfless, wants to help. I mean, look, at the end of the day, I want to help myself and build goodwill, because ultimately when you do things for people and don't expect something back, if and when you ever do need something, you can bet your ass that someone who you've helped without asking for anything, if you did need them for something, you can be pretty confident that they're going to bend over backwards. At least I would, for someone that's done those things for me. So,
Can't agree more.
To your point, there's a lot of ways you can add value, and it doesn't all have to be in one day. Nothing is more frustrating than someone who's trying to be a bull in a china shop of like, hey, let me help you. And they're like almost to the point where you're like, dude, help me by leaving me alone. You know, like pick your spots. There's kind of like some critical thinking involved. Like, be strategic. Don't shoot a bullet on something that you know someone doesn't need. That's all comes with experience, though. And obviously, being 95 years old, I've been around for a while, so knowing when to offer help and ask for help is as important as like the relationships.
Can't agree more. Yeah, the universe reciprocates, and one of my friends has this rule, and I kind of go by this rule too, of I don't keep score until it's like 60-0, and then I start to notice a little bit. You know, it's like, fuck, I gave a lot, and I'm not getting anything back here. But outside of that, like, yeah, I'll give until it's 60-0, and then I'm like, all right, well, I don't know if I'm getting anything out of this.
Exactly. That's
I love
a good
it.
point.
Well, my man, you inspire me. I hope to be able to run a sub 3-hour marathon when I'm in my 50s, and I know that I will be able to if I train the way you do. So thank you for all you do, all you share, and we got to train together when I'm in Nashville. I'm sure I'll be there at some point in the near future. And if you come out to Denver, please come visit us. Let's hit some runs in the mountains, and welcome to use our sauna and cold plunge, or we can head over to Restore Hyper Wellness and use their various amenities that they have at their facilities. So thank you, my brother.
I appreciate you. Thank you for having me. Again, I'm sorry I was a little bit late. I hate to come across like a diva and an arrogant bastard, but I'm just trying to juggle a million things. But I'll say this: you're so much better than I was at 42 as an athlete, and I can promise you, if you just keep training, you'll be far, far ahead of me when you're 50, because I wish I had started earlier. But I always tell people, I wish I had gotten into competitive exercise instead of playing real sports when I was younger. I'd probably have gone to the Olympics, but it is what it is.
Compounding consistency.
But I appreciate
compounding consistencies. I think that was a big thread of this conversation. And you're right, with team sports, so much of it you can't control. But with, these more individual sports, obviously you have your family and support network and, your sponsors and everything. But yeah, I mean, it's just these grunt work sports. It's just purposeful practice day in and day out. And you don't need some genetic gift. It's just putting in that work.
Yeah, and like I said, if you put in the work, you're going to get so much more out of it than just race results. I promise you. People will when you tell me that I inspire you, I'm like slightly embarrassed, because I'm like, in a way, I'm just being myself, and I feel like almost a responsibility to be a better person when I think people are paying attention and inspired by me. It's given me so much like self-worth. At times, I've struggled with different areas of life, with addiction and other things, and since I started running and found something that I really take pride in, the amount of gratification I've received from this has been tremendous, and to think that I'm inspiring people that I admire and am inspired by is just. it's like a dream come true. And again, I'll stress to everyone listening, everything I have is available to everyone. I am not good at anything other than trying hard. I am not a good athlete. I know people say, oh, this guy's an asshole. Of course he is. I was a Division III football player and hockey player. I wasn't the best at anything. I was just there and willing to hustle. And as I got older, I was like, I want to stay relevant in something. And I just decided running was important to me and just ran a lot. But I don't have natural gifts. I didn't show up and run a sub 3-hour marathon without putting in years of work. And, hopefully if people get anything from this, it's that this is not, there's no secret formula. You can just work hard and you'll get everything that you deserve.
9 Elements listeners can receive 20% off your first Restore service using the code ELEMENTS20 when making your first appointment. That code again is ELEMENTS20 to save 20% when booking your first service at Restore.